Hey guys, hope everything's going well. You guys know the drill. Smash the like button, subscribe if you haven't, and comment down below. Follow me on Instagram at AIH_sports. Okay, today I wanted to do a different type of video. I wanted to look at the MLB playoffs. Before I get into the MLB playoffs regarding any sports cards, since I do a sports card channel, or it's mainly about sports cards, this is probably the time to sell any sports cards of any player that's in the playoffs right now. And I saw Personal Finance Dad's YouTube video. He said, buy the rumor, sell the news. Same exact thing that I see with sports cards. And I'll be doing a video in the coming weeks about what sports or what baseball cards I'm looking at for the 22 off season. Anyways, regarding the MLB playoffs, I was doing a video with my buddy Brother John. He's over at J22 Sports. I believe that's his YouTube channel. And you just YouTube it. And we were going to do a video, or we did a video, but there were some technical difficulties, so he couldn't post it on his channel. So I'm just going to do a MLB baseball preview, even though we had the game last night, the Yankees and the Red Sox. And my prediction in that video was that Garrett Cole was not the Garrett Cole of 2018 and 2019 because of his alleged use of spider tack, and he couldn't spin the ball, especially his fastball, as well as he used to. And that's why he is not as dominant as he was in the past. He's probably more like the pitcher he was with Pittsburgh, and I predicted that in that video that he would have the same fate as in the 2015 wildcard game against the Cubs, my beloved Cubbies. And a similar thing happened. Kyle Schwarber hit a home run in the 2015 game, and he hit a home run last night with the Red Sox. And also, my boy Rizzo, he hit a home run for the Yankees. So it was a good night for ex-Cubs players. Regardless, it was, I was correct in my prediction. Garrett Cole would not have a good game as some people thought he would, and the Red Sox won. Now tonight, there's going to be a game with the Dodgers and the Cardinals. It's going to be in Los Angeles, and Max Scherzer is going to be starting, and then you have Wainwright for the Cardinals. My prediction is, even though it's a one-game series and anyone could win, it's sudden death, I get that, the Dodgers have a stronger starting lineup, and I would give them the edge for that. Now, going into the NLDS and ALDS. Okay, so I predicted the Dodgers would move on to the NLDS, and they'd face San Francisco. San Francisco, surprisingly, has done really, really well this year. And they have starting pitchers like Guzman, and they have other arms as well, Alex Wood, and they have exceeded expectations compared to where many people thought they'd be. You have the president of San Francisco, I think his name is Farhan Zadi. I forget his last name. And he's done a pretty good job in year two. He came over from the Dodgers. He helped the Dodgers build a good system. And that's what he's doing with San Francisco, with individuals who aren't big-time names. Yeah, they did acquire Chris Bryant in the trade deadline. They have Buster Posey, who has experience. So they have a decent lineup. There's no doubt about that. But in terms of going against a well-staffed lineup like the Dodgers with Trey Turner, the speedster Trey Turner, you have you have the other Turner as well for the Dodgers. You have Corey Seager, you have Bellinger, former MVP, and the list goes on and on and on. Their lineup is stacked. And in addition to their lineup being stacked from the hitting side, they also have one of the strongest rotations out there. Even if Clayton Kershaw is right now on the disabled list because of a sore arm. Guess what? They have Scherzer, they have Urias, a 20-game winner, and they have Walker Buehler. Those are 3 outstanding starting pitchers. And it's a 5-game series. And then on top of it, they have David Price, who probably is a starter on most teams. And he's going to go to the bullpen. And if you remember a few years ago, David Price did pretty well in the playoffs. So coming out of the pen, I expect him to do well. And I expect the Dodgers to win in 5 because they don't have Kershaw. If they had Kershaw, I'd give them 4. Even though the matchup was pretty much in line. I believe San Francisco won 10 games this year versus the Dodgers won 9. Pretty matched teams. But once again, the San Francisco Giants, they don't have the same starting rotation that the Dodgers have. The Dodgers have experience in the postseason. Like individuals like Guzman, like I don't remember him going to a World Series. Maybe Johnny Cueto, I believe he was in the World Series in 2015. Alex Wood also was in the World Series. But San Francisco, maybe besides Buster Posey and Chris Bryant, who have had World Series experience, I would give the edge to the Dodgers, who have more of a balanced lineup. Now, going to the other game, Milwaukee and also the Braves. Milwaukee has one of the top 3 starting pitchers. The 3 pitchers, Peralta, Burns, and Woodruff, they have ERAs in the, mid-2s? That's pretty damn good. Now, the Braves, they're pretty much lucky to be in a pretty rotten division this year. The Mets didn't do anything. Phillies didn't do anything. And the Braves didn't have Acuna Jr., you could argue, and that's why they weren't as good. Regardless of all of that, I would give the edge to the Brewers just because they have the starting pitching that will most likely shut down the Braves. I predict Milwaukee will win in 4 games. They have Josh Hader. The thing that may concern me about the Brewers is Christian Yelich is no longer the Christian Yelich of a few years ago where he's his MVP form. I'm pretty sure injuries have caught up to Yelich, so that's why he's not as good as he used to be. Regardless, I still say Brewers in 4. Okay, now going to the AL. We have one series that I'm looking at very intensely because I'm from Chicagoland. Even though it's not my team, I'm going to be watching the White Sox and the Houston Astros, a repeat of the 2005 World Series. So, you got the rematch of La Russa and Dusty Baker. I don't know how many of you guys remember this, but Dusty Baker and La Russa, they used to be buddies back in the day, in their playing days. They used to be on friendly terms. And then, once Dusty Baker was on the Cubs, and they played the Cardinals, you had huge rivalries between them. There were accusations that, they're hitting our players, and Dusty Baker was defending the Cubs, and then La Russa and Baker were cursing each other out on the benches. I believe there used to be fights. Like, those Cubs-Cardinals games were amazing. I remember going to a doubleheader, I think, is 2003 in the bleachers. That was great. That was fun. And unfortunately, the Cubs didn't win that year. The Steve Bartman mishap. Regardless, it should be a good series. The Astros with Dusty Baker. Now, they don't have Justin Verlander. Another thing to note, Greinke came off the COVID injured list. So is his arm ready and stretched out to be starting? He could technically start, but he's not where I would want him to be if I were a Houston Astros fan. They have McCullers. And now I'm looking at the White Sox starting pitching. You got Dylan Cease, you got Giolito, who was a former All-Star. You have Lance Lynn, who was their ace this year. And you have Dallas Keuchel as well. And I'm looking at the starting pitching just of the White Sox. It appears to be stronger than the Houston Astros as of this point. From a lineup perspective, I'm just looking at it, and I would give the Houston Astros a slight edge because they have had the experience. Some people say, okay, they cheated, whatever, but still, you got a lot of experienced veterans on their team, and I would give the hitting edge to the Astros. Now it becomes, okay, hitting versus pitching. I would give the slight edge to the White Sox. And I would say La Russa's White Sox will win in 5. Based on a law of numbers, I would expect Dusty Baker to win it, but I'm just looking at Zach Greinke isn't 100%. Justin Verlander's in pitching. I would have to give the edge to the White Sox. White Sox in 5. Okay, next round is Boston Red Sox and Tampa Bay. I had my buddy John analyze this round. He picked the Yankees, but I'm just looking at the Red Sox. I can't comment too much about Tampa. I know Tampa won the AL East, so they definitely have a pretty damn good team. Starting pitching, obviously, is their strength. But I'm looking at the Red Sox, who I can speak of. And I noticed Chris Sale, who used to pitch for the White Sox, used to be their ace of the White Sox, and he's the ace of the Boston Red Sox. He helped them win the World Series a few years ago with Cora as the manager, and Cora's back. And what I noticed is that Chris Sale was injured for most of the year, and now he's back. I looked at his number, he's 5-1, pretty solid. You had Eovaldi, if I'm pronouncing his name correctly, he pitched pretty good against the Yankees. So you have those top 2 aces going for the Red Sox, and I'm pretty sure Chris Sale could pitch a few games in the series against the Rays. And just looking at their starting pitching and the experience that Boston has had, and they have won, you could say that Tampa Bay was in the World Series last year, but they didn't win. And I look at these hot bats on Boston, like Schwarber, and hitting these home runs. I'm looking at that, and if I had to roll the dice, I would give Boston the edge in 7, just because Chris Sale has a fresh arm compared to years past. And you could probably pitch him in a few games. And because of that, I said Chris Sale is the number 1 factor why I give them the edge. Alrighty. So now the NL. Oh, not the NL. Now it's the World Series. Not World Series, excuse me. The NLCS and ALCS. Let's look at the NL. Okay, it's the Dodgers and the Brewers. This has happened before. These 2 teams have met. And I'm just looking at the fact that Clayton Kershaw may come back. If Clayton Kershaw comes back, I would give the edge to the Dodgers in 5. If Clayton Kershaw is not pitching, I would give the Dodgers in 7. My criticism of the Milwaukee Brewers right now is Christian Yelich is no longer the Christian Yelich of a few years ago, as I've stated before. If Christian Yelich can get going and go back to what he used to be, then Milwaukee has a chance. But I'm just looking at the depth of the starting pitching. Like I said, Scherzer, Urias, Walker Buehler, potential addition of Clayton Kershaw, and you got David Price in the bullpen. That is a very strong rotation of pitchers. And that should give them the edge. Even though if the Brewers have 3 dominant pitchers, like I stated, Corbin, you have Woodruff, and you have Peralta, at the same time, the bats are not as strong on the Brewers compared to the Dodgers. And that's why I give the edge to the Dodgers. Now, the ALCS, with the Red Sox and the White Sox. Here's the deal with the White Sox. The White Sox do have starting pitchers. However, in terms of experience, besides Dallas Keuchel, these young pitchers have not dealt with what the Red Sox have dealt with, especially with Chris Sale winning at the level that he did. And some people say Dallas Keuchel, when with the Houston Astros, they've had success in the playoffs. May I add, the Houston Astros have a negative stigma to them, and Dallas Keuchel is not the Dallas Keuchel of his Cy Young days. And I'm just looking at that. I like the lineup of the Chicago White Sox, even though I'm a Cubs fan. You got Eloy, you got Abreu at first, MVP of last year. You got Luis Roberts, and you got Tim Anderson. I like Tim Anderson. He definitely has a swagger. Tim Anderson can lead off, can set the tone. There's no doubt about that. But once again, starting pitching is going to be a huge reason why I can't go with the White Sox. And that's why I give the edge to the Red Sox in 6. Okay, now the World Series. The Dodgers versus the Red Sox. And I've stated this before, pitching. And the pitching of the Dodgers is slightly stronger than the pitching of the Red Sox. And what I like about the Dodgers lineup is that it's well balanced. You got a speedster in Trey Turner, who has had success with the Nationals. You have Bellinger, former MVP. They won it last year. You got the other Turner with the Dodgers. You got Corey Seager. You got a nice lineup with the Dodgers. And Kershaw should be in that, especially if he's not in the NLCS. So, just looking at all of that, I would give the edge to the Dodgers in 6. Nothing against the Red Sox, but the Dodgers are a dominant team. Now, once again, my predictions could be totally off if the Dodgers blow this game. Remember, Clayton Kershaw blew a game, I believe, in 2019. So, just keep that in mind. And, yeah, I mean, baseball is so unpredictable with these wildcard games. And the series are short. So that's another thing to note. But those are my predictions. What do you think about the playoffs, MLB playoffs? I know it's a different video, but I like doing videos that are not always the same. Alright guys, smash the like button, comment down below, and I'll talk to you later guys. See ya. Bye.